Pastor Abel Damina's daughter was actually kidnapped, his youngest daughter. Even though the stories seem very funny, sometimes we will never be able to comprehend how people just, or people's thinking pattern. Now, Pastor Abel Damina had been encouraging his children, his girls, because they spoke highly of him. And this happened on a podcast where they sat with Chudi and talked about the relationship with their father, not because they wanted to sell their father in a good light, but because they were just saying how many times their father was able to, support them, encourage them to say, you can do this. You don't have to, check out. Like, because you're having a challenge, you'll be like, oh, daddy, I'm done. I'm not going to do it. And because that was exactly what they were doing. Like, they had a production, they started two sisters before their youngest sister was kidnapped. So this whole thing, he asked questions like, what was it like when she got kidnapped? What was the atmosphere in their house? Because she was kidnapped for I think 7 days. And the story went this way, that when Pastor Abel Damina, okay, for those of you who don't know Pastor Abel Damina, before I dive into the meat of the matter, Pastor Abel Damina is a pastor in Akwa Ibom State, I guess. I don't know if he's still there, but he is from Jos, Nigeria, Plateau, Jos, Nigeria, and he lives in Akwa Ibom State, and that is where his ministry had been. So Pastor Abel Damina is a pastor that had always talked about tithing, and then he said he stumbled on a book that said tithing was wrong, and then he went into deep research and found out that tithing was wrong, quote and unquote. That's his own. I'm just saying what he said. So when Pastor Abel Damina started doing these things, some podcasts invited him, and he was able to dissect everything he felt was the gospel of Christ. Because like he said in one of his interviews, that he's not saying that miracles do not happen. He feels that a lot of miracles are being arranged. So one would say, okay, for him to have known they were arranged, could it be that he had ever arranged a miracle? I don't know. I'm just saying, do you get? Like I said, people's thought pattern is different. So Pastor Abel Damina became almost very controversial. Like, when I mean controversial, it could not every controversy is in a bad light. So he became very controversial, talking about men of God in the likes of the pastor Enenche and all of that. Then he talked about Pastor Jerry, that even when Pastor Jerry went to the UK to do his concert or whatever it is they went there to do, that Pastor Jerry, the girl that was healed of that she couldn't walk, I think she was lame or something, that her wheelchair and that of the other guy was the same brand and all of that. You all know that sometimes you could go to the market and see the same brand of something and buy, but he said the coincidence was just so obvious. That aside, so Pastor Abel Damina had been in the books, like in the news. He's been trending for every reason. He's been trending. So for a while now, he's been calm, like he's not been really trending. But I saw him do a video yesterday where he responded to somebody, a pastor whose name he didn't mention, but of course, people will definitely fill the screen with different pastors, making you want to wonder which of those pastors is he really throwing jab at. And then he mentioned that the pastor's career is dead on arrival, so he's trying to mention his name to be able to revive it. So his children, let's talk about his children. His children, I think they studied film making and all of that, and they have been doing their skits from way back. And at some point, they would think of deleting their YouTube channel, because it's not really easy. It's taxing when you do YouTube and you're not able to be consistent. Like now, this video I'm showing you now, if I'm not consistent, some of you will be dropping comments on my comment section to ask me what's up, why have you not posted, and all of that. And this is in a way makes you to be on your guard, and you want to always create content and post. You won't want people to be calling you, oh, why haven't you posted, all of those things, because the people are enjoying this post you do. There are people who resonate with the kind of content you create, so they want you to always. There's one of my channels that the people will come, how come we've been refreshing this page and you have not posted anything, what's going on? I'm accountable, so I will always explain to them. Maybe I came back from work late, or I was taking my child to make her hair, something. So Pastor Abel Damina's daughter explained that the father will always pour them up to encourage them to say, no, you can do this. This is what you are called to do. Sometimes they will say, oh God, they are not doing again. The father will say, no, no, no. They'll tell the wife, please get them food to eat. I'm sure when they are eating, because everybody illustrated the same thing, that their father, 3 daughters will say, their father will say, maybe if you eat and calm down, you need to calm down and all this, you are made for this, go and do it. And the father and mother encouraged them, which was a very good thing. So when they asked them about the kidnap case, Dr. Abel Damina's youngest daughter began to talk, and she may not have known a lot. So her older sister talked, and she spoke about it and said they prepared that morning to go to school after they've done their devotions and all of that. And then the sister said, the mother said they should wait behind, let the cousin or uncle drop the girl at school. Probably she had eaten. So on their way to school, they saw some strange guys who picked the girl out of the car. And if it were now, somebody would think, okay, maybe it's the Nenches or other pastors that may have, done that kind of a thing. But thank God it was not in these days where the whole social media went agog when he was talking about tithing and other things. They would have accused so many pastors of being behind the kidnap. So these guys said they were her father's friends, that she should follow them, and they opened the door and brought out the girl. So the guy, the uncle or cousin, wherever he is to them or was to them, now picked his phone, called the house, and said, this is a situation what has happened. They said, what are you talking about? So the first day they didn't see her. The second day, it got to a point where Pastor Abel Damina now told God that, I think on that day, maybe the 5th or 6th day or 7th day thereabout, told God that while they were praying, that if the daughter is not released, he's not going to worship God again, he's going to drop his Bible. And of course, some people will be like, is that why would a pastor talk like that? My dear, there are things you face in life. You will now be wondering God has abandoned you. So he was human at the point where he said that. On the other hand, the wife was saying, oh, please, they should not, that kind of a thing. That anyhow, let the child come back. Even if it's pieces, she will gum the baby back. She will have to gum the baby back. So all of those kind of things, So the thing people began to talk about it, about what Pastor Abel Damina said. Some people had their different opinions about it and all that. So when the girl came back, that day the father said, oh, he's going to drop his Bible and he's not going to worship God again if this girl doesn't come back. That was the day. The sister said she heard some sound at the gate or so, or maybe the door, and she peeped and saw one little child coming in. And when she looked very well, it was the girl. So everybody opened the door and they all ran to hug her. And then the mother started removing, because she now dressed in a man's clothes, a male outfit, and then the mother tore all those things and gave her a bath. The thing is, my happiness is that in all of the things they said, the girl was asking them, oh, why didn't you come to? I was happy that this girl was not raped. Nobody mentioned any case of being, they didn't molest her or not. I don't know if the interviewer never wanted to, because I watched the full podcast. So I don't know if at some point she mentioned that, but of course there was nothing like that. And then they asked them, were there any time in their life where she felt, she was now talking about her trauma period where she saw her father, she would run away, even when the father welcomed her, she was running away. She didn't want to see any male figure around her. Even when she was in school, at some point she saw people coming from a car, and then she took off because she didn't want any of those, that kind of thing. She had flashes and all, but we thank God that she has healed, because see, kidnap is not something that should happen to anybody. Whether it's your enemy, do not pray that kidnap should happen to anybody close to you, because it has happened to my godmother in 2020 and it was not palatable. I know how we prayed, trusted God. It was not funny. And after 2 weeks, do you know what it means? At least Pastor Abel Damina's daughter was 1 week, but my godmother was 2 good weeks, 14 days. And on the 7th day, she was released. It's not something that should happen to anybody. So my heart goes out to them. I hope she has healed. For her to be speaking about it like that, she has healed. And I thank God it was then and it's not now. And the girl was just as a young girl, the sister said she was just asking them, why didn't they come to get her? And why did you people allow me to stay that long? You didn't come to get me and all that. And then I think she said she mentioned whether they give her what to eat and all of that. But the good news is she was not, taken advantage of, or we did not hear the part she was taken advantage of. That was the good part in all of this. And she came back and she was fine. Yeah.